Have you ever stopped to think about what remains in silence? What lives between the spoken and unspoken words? When someone hurls a criticism or an attack, the temptation to defend yourself is raw. However, here's the truth. Silence can be more powerful than any articulated response. Deconstructing a conversation means recognizing that words are not the only weapon. They can be a smokescreen, hiding various intentions. Are you ready to face this reality? Every time you silence yourself, you disarm the opponent. They might believe they are in control, but the truth is that by remaining silent, you bring the game back to where it really matters, in your mind. Observation rather than response. That is the key. When you refuse to debate, the other person exposes themselves. They reveal their weaknesses, their insecurities. You hear the assumptions that shape their words while you become the agent of change. What you perceive as an attack might actually be a mirror reflecting their own limitations. Silence is a strategy, a tactic that, when applied, transforms the dynamic of any interaction. Remember, you don't need to justify yourself. Don't explain, observe and learn. What they say, what's left unsaid, around what emerges in the subtext. Each pause is an invitation for the truth to be exposed. So before we continue, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really appreciate what I'm doing here. Manipulation. An obscure art that unfolds in words and silences. It's everywhere, invisible to the naked eye, operating beneath the layers of human communication. You need to learn to identify these signs. Ignoring this puts you at the mercy of others. The first sign? The attempt to shift the focus. When the conversation turns into a personal attack, allowing the attention to shift to you, it paralyzes the essence of the original discussion. Never fall into that trap. Observe. The diversion is a strategy to obscure failures, to divert the truth. They burn the topic at hand while you struggle to respond. The second sign is the use of empty words, that conversation filled with superficial compliments, but laced with disdain. A compliment that is nothing but poison. How subtle coding aimed at destabilizing your position. Notice this, compliments are a protective wall for those who fear being exposed. Your recognition should be incisive. Understand what is intentionally left unsaid. Finally, the last sign, manipulative silence. A moment of pause that lets tension flow. They know that the absence of response generates discomfort. The strategy is clear. Shake your confidence, making you question your reasoning. But know that this silence can be your ally. Position yourself. Make it clear that their lack of words does not touch you. What they fear is your power to respond. Recognizing these signs is the first step to protecting yourself. Let your intentions be visible while obscuring theirs. When you are silent, they fail. When you observe, they reveal themselves. Forge your path through the chaos. Don't give in to the impulse to demand explanations. In the absence of defense, you control the game. Strategic contempt is a sharp blade. The attack comes. Cold words are thrown, and what do? The first reaction tends to be defense. But what if I told you that true strength lies in your absence of response? Silence can disarm even the fiercest warriors. When you ignore their provocations, you're not just saying, "Whoa, I'm not here." You're asserting with every passing second, "I'm above this." Each pause is a question mark in the mind of your opponent. What are you thinking? They imagine that noise is a weapon. But real power lies in your ability to be invisible, to let the other's insecurity speak louder. They expect a reaction, but the refusal to duel with their words changes everything. And here's the twist. Contempt is not passivity, it is control. You destabilize the attacker. Because when there is no response, tension grows. The anticipation consumes them. They become vulnerable, exposed in their frustrations. This is the moment when the game changes. The burden falls on them. You watch them burn in their own creation. What you thought was a weakness transforms into your strength. You come to realize that you don't need to justify yourself or try to convince them. Just observe. Strategic contempt allows you to read the space, to understand the patterns. The more you remain silent, the deeper their discomfort becomes. Never explain, just observe. While they speak, you absorb. When their confidence begins to waver, their weaknesses surface. It is in the revelation of the other that you find your points of attack, as silence reveals more than any words could. Your indifference is a call to their insecurities. Be prepared. What you choose to ignore may end up being your greatest ally. And remember, if you want to win, be silent before they know what you think. Silence is uncharted territory. There's untamed power in pauses, a psychological game that few understand. When the storm of words hits, the instinct is to react. But true mastery lies in staying still, observing, measuring, waiting. They speak, exhaling their insecurities like rabid dogs that hurt themselves in their fury. What do you need to do? Just listen. Your silence transforms the discourse. It becomes a mirror reflecting their weaknesses. If you allow the conversation to veer into personal attack, you'll show your cards. The attacker feels they've gained ground. Don't be fooled. This is the trap. Stay quiet. Let their words echo in vain, an empty attempt to gain control. When they speak, you observe. You become an analyst, collecting data in the subtext. Their insecurities become apparent, and with each passing second, they're exposing themselves, unbeknownst to them. You are on a chessboard where your moves are in their minds. Each silence is a move. Each pause is a call that forces them to justify themselves, to reveal themselves unwillingly. Remember, you don't need to shape the conversation, you need to dominate it. Contempt and coldness are your best weapons. Let them burn in the flames of their own words. You are the spectator while they entangle themselves in their own rhetoric. In a universe where tension rises, your indifference becomes discomfort for them. What could be more unsettling than being ignored? Stay motionless as they try to fill the void. Use those gaps to your advantage. Each second of silence can provoke their need to fill the void with words that inevitably reveal their weaknesses. If you want to win, be silent before they know what you think. Silence, in this game, is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of control. And remember, you are the invisible force, the shadow that lurks. Never lose sight of that. A verbal attack is a storm, and when the fury descends upon you, most cling to the instinct to defend themselves. But the truth is raw. You don't need to justify yourself, never. Stay silent. Each unspoken word echoes like a tactical scream. You transform the anguish of confrontation into control, a power that few understand. This resistance to the impulse to retaliate is where the magic happens. Silence becomes a carefully crafted trap for the aggressor. They expect responses. They feel the need to gain ground. But you observe. As they expose themselves, grappling with their own flaws in each hasty sentence, the tension they try to inflict on you returns to them, and you, motionless, become the true strength. Can you perceive this? Each of your silences is a magnet that awakens nervousness in others. Their words begin to blur, to lose meaning. Insecurities emerge like bubbles bursting under pressure. The truth drowns out what is said. The more you remain silent, the more they shed their armor. It falls like dry leaves from a tree in autumn. Understand? You must transform the dynamic. When an attack hits you, build a wall of indifference. A barrier that doesn't crumble with empty words meant to hurt. Each pause in your troubled silence becomes an invitation for them to introspect. You're offering a mirror reflecting their insecurities. In this process, you are not the aggressor, but the conductor of a show that transcends the shouting match. Now here's the twist. While they launch their words like uncontrolled missiles, you rise as an invisible entity. What once seemed like an attack transforms into a hellish dance that exposes them. It is your absence that brings this movement to life. If the game is about control, choose your non-response as your checkmate. Remember, there is no strength in shouting. True skill lies in the silence you exude. Demystify the clash. You don't need to enter the battle to win it. Silence is the weapon that can still hearts. Silence is the battlefield where real warriors fight in their minds. Dominate through the absence of speech. Power resides in observation, and you are in control. Silence is a battleground. Do you think the conversation is where control unfolds? That is a mistake. The true sphere of power lies in the shadows of pauses. A verbal attack is unleashed, and the temperature of the discussion rises. What's your first reaction? Defense. Insane. The trap is laid. They expect you to react, but here's the truth. Your absence of response is your true weapon. Each second you remain silent is a deafening scream. They believe they dominate the narrative, but in reality, you are building a wall that does not budge while they tire themselves out. The attack is vigorous, but you are the deep ocean, still beneath the surface. They launch words like arrows. You remain unmoved. Each provocation is an echo in the void, an invitation to your own fragility. Remember, you don't need to justify yourself. Let them reveal themselves. Each exposed weakness is a step toward your victory. With every unspoken word, you dismantle their expectations. You force them to fill the void with their own insecurities. Silence becomes your fortress, forging a space where their weaknesses consume them alive. Confusion. That's what they need. Tough luck for them. The tension rises. The feeling of discomfort becomes palpable. They can't understand what's happening. As rushed words spill out in an avalanche, you remain an observer, a strategist. The game is in your hands. Attention fluctuates, and they become vulnerable, intoxicated by their own verbal poison. What you thought was a disadvantage reveals itself as the greatest strategy. They talk, but you don't need to listen. You absorb. Each pause becomes a mirror, reflecting their fragilities. The battle is not between words, but within the mind. When you remain silent, others burn themselves. Accept this reality. Shift the focus of the conversation. Make silence your primary ally. It's subtle. It's profound. The absence of defense is a sublime form of control. You are not a passive spectator. You are the archetype of hidden strength. If they ignore you, you are a storm in a teacup. The key lies in being a shadow. Dominate and control. Use each pause, each hesitation. Silence is where you reveal the vulnerability of your opponent. Don't forget, in the arena of human interactions, silence is the true victory. When conflict erupts, stay calm. The disdain for the need to react is the most powerful path. In stillness, you find your apex. And when the dust settles, victory will be yours, not in the thunder of applause, but in the silent power you carry. Silence. What do you truly see when you are silent? The mind of your interlocutor woven with insecurities. Words that cut, but do not touch you. Because you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to justify your existence. In this space where noise transforms into echo, control reveals itself as a fluid concept. What attacks you isn't the criticism, but the other person's need to provoke a reaction from you. Each silence you maintain generates a tension they can't withstand. They talk, repeating the cycle of insecurity. And you observe. Each sentence is a trap for the ego. Each silence is a lesson. They expose themselves. They burn themselves. Use their misunderstanding as your weapon. The verbal attack is an extension of their limitations. They judge, but you turn that into an invitation. Pay attention to what is said, and more importantly, to what lies beneath the surface. Silence here is both a shield and a sword. Where they see weakness, you find strength. Choosing to stay silent offers a new understanding. You are a keen observer on the chessboard, where you often take on the role of the attacker. None of this is real, all this emotion. Manipulation. Conflict is a weapon that wounds, but you've seen the holes in their armor. Each hesitation, each falter in their argument is your opportunity to take control. So, what happens when you refuse to enter the battlefield? You become unshakable. The attack is a reflection of the other person's need for validation, and you refuse to feed that need. Disdain for promoting conflict gives you an invisible advantage. They don't know. They don't realize. Every word is a flame, and you are the water that extinguishes their fury. When the dust settles and silence reigns, the fortress you've built becomes the foundation of your strength. Power lies not in words, but in their absence. Amidst the deafening roar of discord, you find your truth. Silence is your era. And the battle? It's won by those who listen for the weaknesses of others. Bring to light what they tried to hide. This is your freedom. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it's a blank canvas where truth reveals itself. You think the attack is directed at you, but in reality it reflects the other's weaknesses. When they fail to provoke, when their words become weapons, you are the strategist. Listen, observe. Each silence you maintain acts like a sharp blade, cutting through the tension they attempt to impose. In the mouth of an aggressor, noise is a desperate reflection. They expect you to explain, to justify yourself. Don't fall into the trap. Every pause you impose creates an echo in the other's mind. Their confidence crumbles. They reveal themselves in their search for words that fail to connect, while you remain an unyielding presence. Silence is not passivity. It's active control. You need to do nothing but be. Within your stillness, you transform the interaction. The other person feels compelled to fill the empty spaces with their insecurities. They are eager to provoke a reaction. Each silence from you nullifies that expectation, shifting the game. They burn themselves while you watch their weaknesses lay bare under the light of confrontation. The dynamic shifts when you refuse to engage in controversy. Each unspoken word is a statement of your superiority. The act of remaining silent dispenses with the need to justify your position. This generates discomfort. For you, it's a playground. For them, a battlefield filled with traps. Stay silent. Observe. While they talk, you become a spectator of human fragility. Each hesitation in their speech reveals more than any argument could conceal. Truth often hides between the spoken and the unspoken. And you? You know that each pause offers a window into this truth. When the game intensifies, when pressure becomes palpable, true victory resides in controlling silence. Don't explain. Don't defend yourself. By doing so, you mobilize a new reality. Those who attack seek power. But do they realize that you already possess it? While they shout, you simply observe. Each empty space becomes an opportunity to reclaim the interaction while you gather information. This is where the power lies. True mastery lies in not being affected by verbal upheaval. No one can reach you when you remain above the line of confrontation. They, with their words, try to build a fortress. But you are an abyss, a depth that swallows them as they try to cross. Silence is a trap. And you are the master of the game. Silence. What does it reveal? The truth hidden between unspoken words and the desperate echo of insecurity. Throughout this journey, you've learned that victory doesn't reside in words, but in their absence. The moment you choose silence, you become unshakable. A verbal attack is a storm, but you are the rock that stands firm. Each interaction transforms into a dance. They attack, and you observe. It's a display where the others' need to prove their worth becomes evident. Each word thrown is a shot in the dark, but you don't need to justify yourself. Their confidence wavers when you refuse to enter the arena. And here's the truth that many overlook. Silence is a territory you dominate. When you refuse to react, you force the other to expose themselves. They ride on their own insecurities, revealing weaknesses in the subtext. The silences become your allies. Each pause creates a tension they can't bear. They talk, but you don't need to listen. What unfolds is a trap where they become ensnared. Have you noticed this? Each hesitation, each poorly placed word reveals more than they intend. They flounder in a sea of uncertainties, and you remain there still absorbing, collecting information. The battle occurs in the mind, not in words. Your abstinence from response is your greatest strength. How will you wield this? Silence is not a form of passivity. It's a command, an invitation for the other to reveal themselves. Reflect on that. Under every attempted attack, you see the weakness. When you stay silent, they fail. Control in the conversation is not about shouting, but about the absence of it. The cycle closes. The journey so far is clear. You've discovered the power of silence. You've learned that it conveys much more than any well-crafted phrase. It's not just about controlling the conversation. It's about mastering the human interaction. True mastery lies in the choice not to get dragged into unnecessary duels. So, what do you plan to do with this now? Don't let the conversation consume them. Each silence from you exposes them. When you observe, they burn themselves. When you speak, they arm themselves. So if the game is about power, silence is your true ally. Let them reveal their flaws, because ultimately, you are in control.